Well, hello everyone, and welcome to one more episode of Tactical Periodisation Moments. This is a simple podcast, and it's brought to you by the official School of Tactical Periodization. Thank you everyone for staying with us. Keep listening every interview. And today we have a special guest. He's a student of ours from the first edition of the Professional Master. And many of them, and also the second edition, became friends, even well, virtually, some of them, but still with good relationships. So today we have with us, you have with you, Roel Coumans. He's the current assistant coach for the United Arab Emirates. That's a strange name in English to say. I'll try to make it short, maybe UAE or the Emirates. I don't know if it's okay to use it like that. So welcome, Roel, and thank you so much for your presence and for accepting our invitation. I know that everything is okay, and you are on the run to qualify for the next World Cup. Maybe we'll start from there. How are things?
Not so bad. We're still in the race for playoffs. The qualification is in two groups here in Asia. So it are the Asian qualifiers, and two groups of six countries, and the first and the second go direct. Number three plays playoff. So we're still on third position, and 2 games to go. And after March, we know if we will play this playoff game, which is one game against the number three of the other group, and then the winner of that will play 1 week later against the number five, I think, for South America or Mid America. So, but let's do it game by game now. So it's difficult enough.
Yeah. So all of us here at Tactical Periodization are cheering for you, of course, and we hope it goes all for the best. Hope to see you in Qatar. Playing, of course, or coaching, of course, not watching, but coaching. So how is football there in the UAE? How has it changed along the years? I know you've been coaching also in Saudi Arabia. And how do you see those changes? I believe it was around 2014, around that year, 2015, around that.
2015, yeah, 2015. Went to Saudi Arabia. 2 years, lived there. Did the Saudi Arabia national team as a co-trainer of Bert van Marwijk, the former Dutch national team coach who was in the final against Spain in 2010 in South Africa World Cup. So a very experienced coach, and yeah, it was a special experience that time because first time Middle East and different culture, different climate, different kind of football, also related to the climate. So we have to start in a new way and also start to learn what are the habits and the values of this culture and these people. So since 2 years I'm in UAE, and there's not so much difference between in the culture, but there are some difference between the countries because when you look to the population, I think Saudi Arabia 32 million, and so Saudi and in Emirates there are 10 million people, but only 1 million Emirati people, and only 6,000 people players are registered as a football player in Emirates. So that's directly the difficulty of the selection and the selection we can take because the numbers of players are not that big, and in comparing to Saudi, you had more choice in the players, and they also changed there now because the last 3 years I think they had 6 foreigners. In Emirates you can only play with four foreigners, and that's also a big part of developing your own players, yes or no, or which level you want to have with the foreign players you bring. Maybe I can explain that in for example, in Saudi Arabia at that time there was it was obliged to have a Saudi goalkeeper. They changed that after 2018. They can have a foreign goalkeeper. Of course, when you don't have a Saudi goalkeeper, which is obliged in the league, the clubs will buy foreign goalkeepers. It will influence your development of your own play or own goalkeepers, or your own Saudi goalkeepers. And strikers, most of the time, like in UAE now, are foreigners. So the 4 strikers, number 10, the wingers, the striker, are most of the time are foreigners. So this will affect your development of your local players. And of course, the idea behind it is that the local players has to get stronger, and they have to compete more. And you can discuss if this is the way to bring the level in the country to bring it on a higher level in the country, or that it's maybe it should be another way. Saudi Arabia next year will probably have 8 foreigners, so that will affect. That will have a huge effect on the own local players. That's for me already the first difficult thing in the football here. And of course, there's competition between players, but you can only be on a higher level if you really bring better players than your own local players. Sometimes the foreigners, they're here, they're not better than the local players. So I would prefer then to let a local player play, because also it affects your national team.
Yes. Well, a big number of questions just popped up on my head just because of that topic. Why do you think that from the midfield forward they have foreign players, so many foreign players? Do you think that it's because of the low number of football players in the country, or why is that? Do you think that are they open to different cultures to play there, so that they can learn from them, or not?
Yeah, well, I know for the idea in Saudi Arabia after we left in 2017 was to bring more foreign players to be more competitive for the local players, and that was until now it worked well, I think, because it was where was I? Like I got distracted by the watch. Okay. Okay. So they brought 6 local players, so 6 foreign players, and it was to make the league stronger. The idea was to make the league stronger, and also to let Saudi players compete more and have a higher level on the training pitch. Until now, it seems to work in Saudi Arabia. They had a good qualification round. There are the first 6 matches. The first 5 matches I won. The first 6 matches they won, and now they lost the first one against Japan. But the future will show if it's the right way or not, because you always also block the development of a lot of players.
Yes.
And for me, it's not clear why in UAE, for example, the most players are attackers they choose. I think probably they think there is a lack of quality in attacking players. I don't know, but for me, it's not really clear, because I think if I would choose in every line one quality foreign player, at least, and then central of the pitch. So that's but Yeah, well, it's a choice from the clubs, I think, how they do it.
Yeah, and how about the young players? Do you know how they work there on younger ages, how they perform? Are they somehow connected to the first teams? How does that work? Do you have any idea?
Um, the the young players are still talent after they're 23. That, and now I'm talking also for Saudi Arabia and for Emirates, because I know that's a kind of a cultural thing. They're not really young players who now it seems to change a little bit. The last years it seems to change a little bit, but before, if there is a talented young player and there is an old player, the old player will play. And in Euro, it's the other way around. If the players are equal and the one is young, you put the young player in, and that's a huge difference. I was surprised in Saudi Arabia when we started there in 2015, because in January 2016, I also did the Asian Cup for under 23, and I was also qualifier for Olympic Games. And that most of our players who were 23, 22, just around this age, some were a little bit younger, but they didn't play for the first team. Almost no one was playing in the first team. So yeah, you can imagine how it affects your quality,
Yes.
your development, if you are that age and you're not playing. It's also a result from the climate, because from end of May till August, September, they're not playing. So every young player, so suppose a young player starts, not like they already start to playing older in the Middle East on an older age, so not like 5 years, they start older. So every year from 12 years till 20, and these 8 years, every year they lose 3 or 4 months. So just count. So your development is postponed till after 20, 21, 22, 23. So it's also a matter of lack of training, lack of training sessions.
Yes,
During this.
and competition, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, that's a big handicap year after year in the life of those young players. Yes. Well, as you know, in tactical periodization, the world tactical is very much connected to the cultural part, to the building of a culture. Do you feel like you and all the technical staff, of course, when I say you, not only you individually, but your head coach and everyone else, but mostly you, of course, the interview is for you. Do you feel that you managed to implement some kind of European culture, or have you changed anything that you have felt?
Yeah, yes, of course you change some things, but it's not so easy to compare, because before I was not here, and before I was not in Saudi Arabia, so I cannot really compare with the time before us. Especially in UAE, I think since 2010 there was a local coach, so he was here in 8 or 9 years, and so he had a good talented group who even didn't make it to a World Cup. In Saudi Arabia, I when we arrived there, I think it was also a Saudi coach, but only for as interim coach. So it was only for a few matches. What I can remember from Saudi Arabia, I remember that I arrived there because I did also the analysis of the opponent, and looking for scouting the players in the country. And what I noticed in the beginning, I looked to the 18 matches before they played, so with the national team, and these 18 matches, every time there were at least 5-6 different players on the list, and that's one thing for Marwijk he doesn't want. He wants to work with a squad that's for 90% the same during a period, and if really someone is talented and better, he will deserve his place at the right time. But you will not easy come in, but you also will not easy get out with him, and that was a huge difference in Saudi Arabia at that time, because I looked and I said, how is possible in this country? Almost every player is a national team player, and for us in Europe, it's like a matter of honor. You have to reach a certain level before you get in the national team, and in Saudi Arabia was that time. I think it was easy to get in. I think now it's not that easy anymore. I think it's more like okay, you really have to show your quality before you get in, and I can maybe it's nice to tell an experience I had. I was always visiting the club. So I lived in Riyadh and I traveled to Jeddah, between Jeddah and Abu Dhabi. And in Jeddah there was a great stadium. It was new, everything fine, and the owner of the stadium, he always invited me before the match to have a drink with him, have a cup of tea, and he ordered some food. So it was always very very cozy and nice. And he said to me on one day, he said, you have to follow this player. I said, yeah, but even I'm already following him. He said, but he played a very good match last time. Yeah, he said, I know. But this boy was that time also, I think, 22 or 21. And he played one good match. And they said, yeah, you have to take him in the national team. I said, well, that's the way we work. He said, let's show him consistency during the next matches. And then we will see if he is ready for the national team. Then we will nominate him, and then he can show himself. And then 4 days later, the first day I saw him was on Friday, I think, and also on Thursday, and it was against a strong team, so it was a big clash, and he played very well. 4 days later, they played for the cup against a team from the one division lower, and he was terrible. And so I start talking to him again. So listen, this is the way why we don't want to take after one match a player. He has to be consistent in his performance. And after that, the player played 4 more matches or 3 more matches, and then he didn't play anymore for 1 year. So just about how the people think about players. If they play one good match, yeah, they're good. But no, for us, it's not. For us, you're good when you show consistency during a longer period. Yeah. That's a huge difference.
Yes, that's big, isn't it? That's big. Well, from my point of view, a closer team, a more united team, a shorter team brings out the best of each one, and the whole, of course. They get interactions more vivid and more and stronger interactions actually. Well, it reminds me of several stories that Professor Vitor Frade tells about this time when he was assistant coach of Sir Bobby Robson. I don't know if you heard this one, that he played with 13 players from the squad mostly. Yeah, and and they didn't lose for 70 games or so, and it was crazy, with no injuries whatsoever, except for traumatic ones, of course, but no muscular injuries or that kind of thing. And well, I think it brings out the best of everyone and the best of the group for sure, but that must have been a big cultural difference.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it is so from our, because we selected the place, but of course he made it a choice. He says, I prefer to have 1 weak spot in the team than changing all the time. So, and that's I think he's right. You know, better to have a weaker spot in the team than and players accept that maybe this is a weaker spot, then bring in another and try another one, and we try another one, and we try another one.
Yeah.
In the end, it will work, and will your the consistency in your team will also be less and less.
Yeah.
So I think
they choose to bring everyone as much as they can, as many guys as they can to the game, and then maybe one works out.
yeah, true.
It's a different way of seeing things. It's completely valid. Well, which main things should one be aware of when coming to that part of the world to coach?
First is it's the climate. I think that's a huge part of can you play with intensity or not, because you see a huge difference in playing in summer or playing in winter. We had the experience in 2016. There was the Super Cup game from Al Hilal, Saudi Arabia, and Al Ahly, Jeddah. That was in London, and then we saw and this was in the summer, and the London temperature was 20 degrees, 22 degrees. In Saudi Arabia at that time is 45. So and we saw what it means for the players to even they prepared also in another environment, and also in Saudi Arabia. They played in London. The intensity of the match was like Europe. So we were, and I was also seeing all these matches in Saudi Arabia, and then you see that the tempo drops, the intensity is less. But of course, when it's 40 degrees or 42 degrees, how can you keep going? You know, it's even for the locals here, it's tough. But of course, their body is used to more used to it than the European players. And the other thing is religion. Religion is a big part of the life and also of the culture. And the best thing I think we did about that is accept the habits they have with it. So that means sometimes you have to stop the training. So the call for the prayer interferes with training, and then okay, we the captain, we said to the captain what are we doing, and he said sometimes they said for example when we were abroad, no, we can play on, we will pray later, and sometimes we stopped for 30 seconds, and then after 30 seconds or 1 minute, he said, coach, we can go on. So, and of course that's a little bit strange for European coaches, but okay, if you know it, you accept it, and the players they appreciate that you try to look at it from their point of view in the culture, which also brings you then to Ramadan, which is also a huge issue for European coaches, but for the players, it's normal that they have they just play their matches even if they don't eat during the day. So it's and everything is organized around so that they still can eat before the match a little bit, and so and they get that strength from God. So that's how they live. They don't need the food for the moment. So because I didn't understand it in the beginning, because we had a huge match in Australia against Australia in 2017, and I had one player, and then Ramadan starts. It was June, and if we would have a result in Saudi Arabia, we would have already been qualified 3 matches before the end. So, and Saudi Arabia didn't go for 14 years to the World Cup, so it was big, and it was a lot of pressure on the team. And so we went there, and normally when you go abroad, there are some rules that you can regulate the Ramadan more or less, but we had only 4 players at the table, and so and from this 4 players, there was only 1 player who was playing as a starter. So you can imagine that when you think, okay, we have to play on intensity against Australia, and how will they do it? And then I I had a chat with a player, and because this player wanted to train extra. So can you imagine? You don't, in our perspective, you don't take food in the morning. Yeah, in the morning before the sun is up, and then you will not eat for 12, 14. It depends on this on the sunset. You will not take any food. And he's asked me to do extra training during the day. I said, Mohammed, I'm sorry, but it will be intensive. It's one-on-one training. You will not eat. How are we going to do it? If you train, you have to eat. I said, no, I will not eat. But I said, okay, then we will do it early in the morning after you have breakfast before. And then we said, no. He said, for me, it's fine. And then he told me, listen, coach, God is giving me the power to do this. And then I understood, these words were for me like, okay, this is how the perception of the player here is different than us. There are things we cannot control, so better to accept it. And it's fine. It's fine to work. It's honestly the culture here is also more respectful than in Europe. I'm not talking about, I don't know how it is in Porto, but in Netherlands, I don't think people are really respectful to each other anymore. And people yelling a lot. And when you're in the Middle East, I don't hear people yelling that much to each other. And that's also a huge difference. And of course, they are competitive and they want to win and they want to do everything. But when it's done, it's done. They don't overreact, or they're not over tensed. It's more relaxed, shui, like I say here.
Well, I can't compare. I completely understand, and I think it's wonderful to see those differences in culture, but also the differences of individuals on a team, and that reminds me of another question: whether you think that football nowadays is more mechanic and automatic than it used to be, not respecting that much the individualities of the players, the way they see things and the way things emerge on them by playing football. And it seems like everyone is trying to create this kind of equal player, disrespecting the individuality. So a central defender must be like this, a left defender must be like this, a center midfielder must be like that, a striker must. And for me, it's very, very, very confusing, because what I cherish the most is just looking at the players and sometimes even laughing at their particularities of their small things that makes them different from one another. But talking about what you said about Porto, here in Porto, we also yell a lot, but because we also care about each other a lot. It's a different kind of yelling. It's a different kind of yelling.
That's fine.
But I completely agree with you. But before closing up, I don't know the time, maybe we have 5 minutes. But before closing up, I'd like to know your opinion on that, that I just mentioned about football nowadays being, I don't know, not like that, but with a tendency of being closed and automated, and it feels like some kind of machine playing, a mechanical way of playing, something like that.
You know what is strange? In a world that gets individual more and more and more, we take out all the creativity, and that's what I don't understand. Because we kill creative players because they don't do that what we expect. What's the best for, as we say, the team. But if on training sometimes you let them go and you let them, they will do amazing things, And for me, it's clear that there are players who need a lot of structure, but there are also players who need a lot of freedom. And if these players who need freedom are the players who are creative and at the end also responsible for the result. Sometimes you have to let them go. Of course, there is a kind of structure when you don't have the ball and all these kind of things, but in ball possession, you cannot control everything. And I think that's the biggest problem of our coaches. We want to control everything, which is impossible. And if we are not controlling everything, we are the players are wrong, and we blame the players. But it's us. It's our perspective that thinks that we can do a PlayStation on the field. It's not.
Yeah. Yes, I totally agree. What a nice topic to finish this. But before we finish, I'd like to publicize something, if you don't mind. For all of those guys, or guys and girls, all the coaches that are having a bit of a doubt on attending our professional master, or at least applying to it, can you give them an idea of your experience on that course, please?
Yes. Of course, before I was already curious about tactical periodization. I heard of it, and for me it was also recognizable, because in a way in the Netherlands we have a way of thinking about football and football training as in the tactical periodization methodology. So I was curious how it would be, and what it will bring extra for me. And I wrote this text, I think, to Miguel, my Miguel Lopez, the tutor, I think last year already one time, that for me everything felt more into place after when we are during the course already. Everything makes more sense to me, how to have structure in your weekly planning, with every day giving a kind of a stimulus to the players, not overtraining them, but also not undertraining them. And one big difference, for example, and maybe it's also a misunderstanding, but when I compare it to Netherlands, we have there's a kind of methodology, and they no, it's not it's a method that's different, and it's only one kind of stimulus a week, and for me that's very strange. It was already strange when I did it, because also my history of my background is also physical coaching and physical therapy. So I had a lot of education into these kind of things, and I was always thinking, yeah, but okay, we go on the pitch on Monday or on Tuesday, but every day we train, we disbalance the body in a way. So we have to know what is the recovery from every training, and that was what was missing in the part of the training sessions we had before. According to that, I was talking to my coach, to my boss. I said, listen, maybe if we didn't change anything about training sessions, but maybe if we change some training sessions, put them here, this there, the players will be more fresh when we start a game. And we trained. It was only small changes, but I think I'm convinced that that in the end the players are more fresh when we start, and they're fit enough to compete. And I think that's and also compete in the way we want to play. So every session is related to the way we want to play. Every session is related to their level of fatigue and concentration level. So in the end, I think you will have players who are fresh, but also know kind of automatically what we expect and what to do in the match. And of course, then there's also always the execution, who can be good or can be bad. But the tendency of what we want is very clear in the week. And for me, that's the best thing to send to people who are doubting. Go to the course. You will have a lot of experiences. You will see a lot of training sessions. You will see a lot of international coaches, and for sure they can help you with the idea you have or maybe you need for the future.
Thank you, Roel, so much. Just to let everyone know, this was not rehearsed in any way. It was.
You transferred the money already to say this?
Yes, I'll try to do that right away.
No, but it's like I feel about it, Philippe. But you can. There is a document I sent to Miguel last year already, and it's in it already that time that I felt about it like this.
Yeah.
And also,
yes. Let me also remind everyone listening that you are able to ask Roel any question that you would like to be answered. Just email us or leave us a comment, whether it's here on Spotify, YouTube, or Facebook, Instagram, whatever. We are everywhere. Well, if someone is on the social media, he's everywhere, right? Nowadays, it's like that. Well, bye-bye, everyone. My name is Philippe Moraes, by the way, and I'll be with you shortly for another episode of Tactical Periodization Moments. Thank you so much again, Roel, for accepting this. I really hope to see you soon. Take care. Take care and stay safe. I see you keep practicing your Portuguese every day.
Até mais.
Bye-bye.
Tchau, tchau.